Hey, folks, welcome back here to Mountain Fortress. I'm Doc, and this will be episode 2. We'll be talking more about Bad Tom Smith today. And I'm always honored to be with my best friend in the whole world, G-Man here beside of me. And G-Man, this is something that me and you've talked about for years doing, right?
We've talked about this for years, getting this in play. We finally got it in play, folks. You're just going to have to bear with us. We're still working out a few little issues, but we'll have it up to par soon.
Yeah, just a few, you know.
That from our producer.
It seemed like after going to Tom Smith's grave, we've had real struggles tonight.
We really have. And
Something's in the
also
air.
in the studio with us tonight is Mac.
How's it
Say
going,
hi,
Coach?
Mac.
How's it going, guys?
And he's the director of the show, and our producer,
Yo.
I'm going to call him Scooter.
Yeah, it'd be a lot less confusing, yeah. We'll go with Scooter.
But tonight we're going to be just sounding off some facts. We actually supposed to have 2 guests show up, and I don't know if it's COVID or just people just still, Gary, don't want to talk about it, man.
I think it's more they don't want to talk about it.
I think I've seen some nasty Facebook posts earlier, so, you know.
Oh,
that could
man.
be, yeah.
Well, we'll take the Facebook down.
We're you know, we just try to state the facts, and a lot of the facts we didn't even know until we started researching it, and we didn't mean to open up any closets or anything like that, but
No.
seems like things have got spooky.
It's got real spooky, and it may get a lot more spooky around here time we do this little series.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about the ever so French War, which I had no idea happened in Hazard. And I didn't know between our producer researched it, and I'm sorry, my director researched it. And how many men you said?
It said Governor Buckley said more than 20, and it's been told up to 74 that was killed in Hazard.
I mean, that's a lot of people.
Lots of people. Of course, you know, there's several more instances which we'll get into later on. But before we get into that, let me say this, Doc. Folks, we're on Spotify. Mountain Fortress Podcast.
Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Now we're on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
If you want to see the live video, tune into YouTube. We are on there now, Mountain Fortress. Also, we've started a Facebook page, so feel free, get on there, like it, share it. If you'd like us to talk about anything, leave a comment. We will see it. We've also got an email address. Producer, what's the email address?
There's 2 because the Gmail wouldn't work, but the main one is mountainfortresspodcast@aol.com.
So if you have anything, questions, something you'd like us to cover, shoot us an email. We will take a look at everything, we promise.
Just be nice.
Be nice.
Yeah, we're setting up a social media page to
We
promote
will
anything.
delete you.
You will be blocked. You will be canceled.
But I guess leading off from last time show, where we were talking about Bad Tom, we actually went to the grave of Bad Tom, and one of his first murders, you know, happened in Hazard,
Yes.
and you know, that's where he killed Mr. Everso. But it seemed like as Bad Tom progressed into murder, that he got closer to what I'm saying is it was more personal.
It seemed like it got a lot more personal toward the end.
I mean, he went from shooting, you know, someone from far away with a rifle to walking up and shooting a man in the yard, you know,
Yes.
in front of his kids. I mean, that's, but, you know, there's a lot of songs written about Tom Smith, and I actually, Gary, we were trying to get the brewery. There's a brewery named Bad Tom Smith.
Yes.
And Gary's been working on that, but trying to get them to come and talk.
Well, Mac and I have discussed it before we started the show. At least he and I may make a trip there.
I mean, who don't love beer?
There's actually a drink called like 13 Ministers because that Bad Tom called for that many ministers to come to him, and when he was in the jail to baptize him.
Right. Well, I want to since we're talking about that, I'm just going to touch on that briefly, and we'll go back to the history. Bad Tom Brewery has got some. Well, Mac found this fact. They have got, what was that called, Mac? That was 13%.
That's what I'm looking up now. It was like a Russian.
So it looks like they're carrying on the tradition rather, but they're producing some.
Oh, it's called a Cold-Hearted Killer Russian Imperial Stout. That's 11.9% alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the ones we're going to hit up.
Bad Tom would have been proud of that in his day, right?
Yes, we will. We'll say cheers to him, all that stuff. So
Oh, that's nice.
no more bad juju down here.
No, please.
I'll get a Ouija board and apologize immediately.
We're not going to mention Ouija boards.
No. No.
But now, Bad Tom, I mean, and everyone there, whichever they said between 4,000 and 7,000 people,
Yes.
said that he really converted at the end. I mean, that's for debate. I know some people would say it's jailhouse religion, but I mean, they said that Bad Tom was sincere, Gary, on that.
They all witnessed him go get baptized 400 feet away from the jail before he went to the gallows.
Right, and he did confess. That was something that his sister on the gallows begged him not
Yes.
to do. That please, you don't have to tell, just pray and ask the
Yes.
Lord forgive you. But he felt the need to tell it all on the gallows, and I don't think he held.
Confession.
Yeah, for 45 minutes he
Yes.
told about each murder he committed.
He actually asked the sheriff, could he have, as long as he wanted, on the gallows while they were putting a noose around his neck, tying him down.
Which, get this, guys, the sheriff was his first cousin. I mean, imagine having to put the noose around your first cousin, and back then the sheriff was responsible for actually pulling the lever. I mean, that would be tough.
Yes.
That would be tough for anybody.
So how long exactly did he postpone that from just talking alone?
Well, the execution date was set for 11 o'clock,
Okay.
and Bad Tom begged them to let him wire the governor one more time, okay? And asked, that he be pardoned. And, of course, the governor, after a while, sent back and said, pretty much what Bad Tom said to the governor was, have mercy on an orphan boy, which Bad Tom, and that's another thing. We were talking about Gacy and all the other,
Yeah.
bad in, bad
Call
out.
back.
Bad Tom's father was a minister, and Bad Tom actually witnessed his father, him and his brother witnessed his father at age 5. He was age 5, and his father was a minister, murdered it right in front of him, shot dead in front of him. So
Yes.
he, there was a lot of bad things that Bad Tom witnessed that probably changed him, wouldn't you think?
True. But one of the stories that really interests me, and I'll probably mess her last name up, Miss McQueen or Quinn, maybe something like
McQuillan.
McQuillan, something like that. Her and Bad Tom got together, and she was married, and had the husband went crazy when he found out about the affair. She had him locked up into the asylum for I don't know how long. He hung
weird.
himself while he was in the asylum.
Wow.
That's weird. Usually it's the other way around. I remember like women back in the day, if they ever talk back, a lot of men used to just like, oh yeah, she's crazy. Just lock her up and then that'd be it.
Well, this one got turned.
Yeah, this one's reverse card, yeah.
Well, her first name was Catherine, and they called her the house where she was at, the cat house. So I don't know if that term.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to watch your footing there.
But we both know
Right, exactly.
we even know Catherine real well from back in the day.
Right.
I said this is
But,
family friendly. What happened to that?
What's that?
Thought this show was family friendly. What happened?
Oh, it is family, isn't it?
Getting freaky.
I don't know. You're starting to hit TV 14. I don't know.
Okay. Oh,
Or watch it.
okay. Well, we can edit this, right?
Oh, maybe.
I thought Facebook only had the censors.
Oh, well, we got a producer. But now, with Bad Tom, I mean, you were talking about when the sheriff came to Bad Tom after he murdered the doctor in bed, which that was the last murder he committed, the one he hung for. Bad Tom was sitting on the porch rolling a cigarette when he pulled up, and I pulled up, actually rode up, and the sheriff, he was a Combs, and that was his first cousin, said, Bad Tom, what happened? And he said, I really don't know. He didn't know. Now, here's what I'm saying, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but if he was really that bad, evil, he would have made up a good story, wouldn't he?
I mean, if he was able to postpone his own execution, I think, he probably was some kind of real Southern gentleman wordsmith, I guess, to get out of
he was
a bit of a necktie.
Well, Doc was saying that. How many times did they get him out of trouble? Who was the guy that got him out of so much trouble? So I guess
there was at least 3 different times that he was convicted of murdering somebody, and he got away. I mean, it was either overturned by the Court of Appeals, or something happened that
Courthouse burned, destroyed all the evidence.
That was Perry County Courthouse burned, destroyed all the evidence.
I mean, I guess he just thought he was untouchable.
Well, I would say so too.
What amazes me, the time he had on the gallows, they actually broke for lunch, and everybody went to lunch, and then came back to the gallows, the execution.
Gary, they actually ran special trains for the execution. I mean, it was like a huge show to these people back then, or whatever. I don't know. 7,000 people in Jackson. That's just.
And Dr. Rader's wife and her kids there, and held them up on her shoulders to make sure they saw the man that killed their daddy hang.
True. That's true.
Poetic.
There was one, though. We was watching that one documentary, and they said some said up to 15,000 people may have been there. But
yeah,
there's a lot of people want to see old man hang.
I mean, they actually ran special trains for it.
Oh, it's quite the number.
I mean, I can't imagine, well, you take 7,000 people in Jackson. I mean, there had to be, no room, and how'd they feed all these people,
Oh, yeah, no, that's. I would have brought their own food.
I've got a couple comments, but I probably don't understand them.
So they didn't have McDonald's back then?
No. I think they had like a Burger King, but it was really run down.
Well, actually, I was going to tell this, and this is kind of PG, I guess.
If you got to start it with that, are we sure? Or like,
it may be.
Do we need to put a pin in that?
but this is true. Okay, there's two accounts. Some people say that the doctor was asleep in the chair, and Bad Tom woke up and shot him in the heart, shot him in the chest. However, the evidence don't support that. The evidence supports that the doctor and Mrs. Quillen and Bad Tom were all in the same bed. Now, because the sheets had the bullet hole in it where the doctor was laying.
Yeah, I'm going with it was all 3 in the bed.
Huh?
I'm going with this all 3 in the bed.
You think 3 in the bed?
That's what they said.
That may be a drink at the next brewery. I don't know.
It could be.
Well, wasn't it?
That would be a good name.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Well, wasn't one of those things bad whiskey?
What's that?
I said maybe that bad whiskey and bad women thing really did.
Well, that's what he said from the gallows.
So, maybe that held some truth to that situation in particular. Who knows?
He actually said that from the gallows. He said that bad whiskey and bad women brought him to where he was today. Of course, his last words was, "Save me, oh God, save me," as they pulled the lever.
And he was weeping.
Yeah, I looked it up. It said that he cried and prayed for over 15 minutes before they let him go.
Yeah, and actually, can you imagine this? Can you imagine a prisoner being led out of the cell and everybody, 7,000 people gasping? I mean, watching him. They said he was pale white where he'd been in jail since February. Here was June. And they were thinking to the gallows, but they lead him to the river and baptize him. That's pretty wild. And they said it took 13 ministers, is what they said, to save Bad Tom Smith.
That's a lot of holy power, yeah.
I guess.
I just can't believe one guy somehow managed to out-talk. It's like, hey, can we just push this back like he's changing like a doctor's appointment or something? It's like, word of the day, stalling. Like just stalling to, not get hung. It's pretty crazy.
Well, when the governor sent his telegraph back, it said, I do not want to interfere in mountain politics. That's what it said.
That's a nice way of saying I do not care
right.
at all.
Well, he knew he was doomed then.
Yeah.
That's when he knew. But now he was known to dress sharp, so and his cousin knew all this about Tom Smith, the sheriff, and he was kind enough to actually dress him. Go get a nice suit
like a black
for Tom.
suit, wasn't it?
Right.
Okay.
A new suit for Tom.
Suit.
But and he was.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to
He's
say.
got something on his mind.
No, I just going to tell G, man, they do have one beer. It's called 13 Preachers.
Ever since we've decided to do this,
I keep going back to the beer.
Mac has been researching all
I
the
think
beers
Mac is thirsty. I don't know. I get a hint of that in the air right now.
The next podcast will be Mac live from Fat Tom Brewery in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Sponsored by your local brewery.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we have tried that. We have reached out to them, and of course, I don't know if they've heard how much beer that Mac can drink, but they've not been
Yeah, maybe
responding.
they give us a sponsor. Or like you said, a case of beer.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they'll reach out to us. Maybe we can do a little spot with them.
And we will.
Yeah.
If they reach out, we will. Because the guy who owns it, or part owner, is kin to Bad Tom Smith some way down the line, and that's what he's,
If I'm not mistaken, Tom Smith was his great grandfather rather.
Okay.
It's a great idea for a brewery.
Oh yeah.
I think it was called a badass in a glass is like the motto for the.
Oh, I haven't
It's
seen
something
that
like
one
that.
yet.
I think that's actually the bourbon they're.
Oh, is it their bourbon?
manufacturing
Okay, there's something called badass in a glass. So they're real cute with the nicknames for sure.
But from researching Bad Tom, I didn't realize. I mean, did you, Gary, realize there was something called the Hazard War?
No, I had never heard of the Hazard War, and look like that would be even though it's technically not in a history book, it's part of history for our county.
Yeah.
It looked like that would have been mentioned at some point in a.
It's a little weird.
What's
But
that?
Oh, I said that is a little weird, kind of
Isn't it?
conspiracy, kind of seeming to keep it on the hush hush.
Oh yeah. I mean, and as we've done the show, we've reached out to certain people that were kin or are kin to the other side, or their great grandfathers, of course, and it's still hush hush, and we've ran a kind of into a brick wall on this, but all we can do is what we know, tell what we know, and hope it's the truth, not legend.
Hopefully it's the truth.
Right. And Bad Tom Smith, I know he was a bad man in all the sense of the word, but it's one of redemption too. His story. I mean,
At the end, it was a very redemption story.
Right. They said that at least 1,000 people followed the wagon with his body after the execution, and I can't imagine this. This was a long haul, all the way to Vico from Jackson.
That's true. Which there is also rumor now that the gravesite is not him.
Which I kind of find hard to believe. I know that they say he's in an unmarked grave over in Car Creek Memorial Cemetery.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because it used to be at Smithboro, and the lake, of course, took that cemetery. But I kind of find it. Here's why, because I was researching, and it says that Mr. Stacy actually was responsible for burying Bad Tom, and he lived in Vico.
Yes. And we think we actually found his gravesite as well on that visit.
Which is in the same cemetery
Yes.
as Bad Tom is marked. I'll say it that way.
But it's just funny. Bad Tom is, I hate to say it this way, but this way it is. He's pretty much by himself. And
he is by himself.
And everybody else is buried pretty much in the same vicinity, which is very strange. And there is a newer headstone that myself and Mac was kind of talking about it. We'd like to know where that came from.
Right. Who bought it?
Yes, because it's very recent. Not
Yeah.
very recent, but recent.
Yeah.
For tombstone wise.
Yeah, because on one it was saying like they were afraid to give him a headstone because they knew people were tired up, get pieces up and stuff. I don't know
Right.
if they waited till later and
Like
finally gave him,
souvenirs.
yeah, well, yeah, but
Right.
they waited later to give him an actual headstone.
I do know when we were there, it seemed to me like the ground was sunk in, like a
It
grave.
was very sunky.
Didn't you think?
Yes.
Like a grave had been there. I mean, if it's just a marker, is what I'm saying.
But now a few years ago, there was also the water meter's 2 foot from it. There was a water leak there. It's on that meter, and
Right.
washed some of that off. And rumor has it that his foot appeared.
Oh,
A foot
yeah.
appeared.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Too bad they didn't do a DNA sample of that, right?
Yeah.
That's
But since we're all from Vico, let's just claim it. He's
all right,
ours.
we
claim
claim
it.
He's a
Yeah.
Vico
Claim
boy.
him.
Bad Tom, as bad as he was, he got saved in the end. Let's believe that.
Well, he had 13 preachers. Surely they got redemption.
Well, and he never.
Something was badder on there.
And Bad Tom did not have to tell all he told, and I believe he told everything.
They had no evidence against him for some of that.
No.
Why confess it?
Right, exactly. I mean, he wanted to meet his maker with a clear conscience, obviously.
Well, apparently he did.
Yeah. Oh, he did. But it's just a story that even now I just find it kind of strange, don't you?
It's a very strange story.
Especially when you go to these people that are his descendants or descendants on the other side of the feud, the French ever so feud. They don't want to talk about it. So it must have been. This is 120 years ago, Gary. By
Yes, it's a very old
the way,
story.
120 years ago, and they don't want to talk about it.
No, they
It's-
Mac has reached out to several different people.
I
and
mean,
they
they
will
just
not even.
they don't want to bring it up. They're afraid that it'll start a feud again or something. I don't know.
I guess
But,
that's what it was, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Nobody wants to
no
talk
word
about it.
back.
And after all the technical glitches we had trying
Yeah,
to
we-
start
we've
this
had a
show,
lot
I'm
of
starting to
issues.
wonder.
I was ready to call it night and just say let's do it again some other time.
It took a few minutes to get all this set up, so
Right,
but
right.
we endured. So
Right.
here we are.
But trust me, we've invited several people that know a lot about Bad Tom Smith, and they would not come on the show, or they told us they may at a later date, whatever. I mean, when a girl tells you that, you know that to move on.
Yes, it's time to go.
How'd you say they brought him here?
They brought him here in a wagon.
Because I was just looking it up, and in a car, it's 51 minutes. Can you imagine that haul with a dead body?
Oh,
How long
in a
it would've
car,
took.
51 minutes.
Yeah, can you
Oh,
imagine?
I'm talking probably by wagon. What, 20 miles? Is it 20 miles up Troublesome Creek's the way they took him?
Oh, is that how? Okay, I was
Yeah.
just wondering. I still would hate to have that job though, because
But I mean, you're
dead body.
probably 25, 30 miles. And I mean, how fast does a wagon go?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean, being in
It's a
that,
day,
that part of summer.
right? And he was hung at 1 o'clock, so I wonder what time it was when they finally got here. I'm not for sure.
I would like to have that job.
Yeah, not the best evening stroll,
Yeah, exactly.
Real
What
rough.
was the embalming process back then as well? I'm sure it's not like it was. They
Well,
probably just put them in a box and go.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. I know the first minister he called for was Thomas Kelly, and I don't know if he said anything over him after that or not. I'm not sure about that. But he was a Methodist minister from around here,
Yes.
But we would, and here's the thing: if you guys are watching this and you know any extra things that be interesting or want to come on our show and talk about it, feel free to send us an email, and we'll get up with you. I mean, it's just it's tough to find anybody to talk about this, and we didn't realize this when we decided, hey, Bad Tom's buried in our hometown. This is where we're starting, and
It became a project real quick to try to get this episode.
It really did, Gary. So, and Mac grew up. Well, actually, our producer grew up off and on in Vico,
Yeah, half and half.
and none of us really knew the full detail of a guy
No.
who killed 9 people, and the doctor too. You know, it was wild.
Yeah, I was trying to think because you know how your parents tell you all the stories, you know,
Yeah.
growing up and stuff. I don't
Never
remember, never
Same
remember a
here.
story about Bad Tom.
Same here.
So bad they didn't want to say his name, I guess.
Right. Right. I mean, you know where I grew up, and you. I mean, we could see really his tombstone if we tried.
Yeah,
I mean,
you used
with
to walk
binoculars.
I mean, you used to have to walk that to get, you know, where you
Right.
needed to go, right through the graveyard.
Never heard a word about it.
I didn't. Nobody told me any stories about him.
No. But now once, I guess once that Bad Tom was buried, my understanding is most of the war, or it settled down. The French and Ever So War kind of went away, and I don't know if him being saved and everyone seeing that caused everyone to change their hearts, or Bad Tom was part of the problem.
You would think that probably where he was executed, they just thought, well, he's gone now,
Right.
and dropped it.
But Bad Tom actually started when he was working. He worked for the Eversoles first, and he stole Mr. Eversole's brother-in-law's horse, and of course back then that was hanging. A
Yes.
horse that if you could prove it, they took him to court, and of course, Bad Tom, he knew a lot of people, obviously, because he got out of that one. But as he come out of the courthouse, he said, there'll not be an Eversole live in Perry County, or stay in Perry County, unless they bathe in blood or something like that. In other words, he would make sure
Yes.
they would die.
And actually, several of them moved out.
Right. Oh, yeah, they
Several
did.
moved.
That's right. He sure did. And it's wisely so. Wisely so during that. But he ended up, actually, his wife, who was from a wealthy family, she was a Combs, and she ended up, the Combs is kind of sided with the Eversoles on everything, and so that's how he ended up in Breathitt County. Actually, is he left his
Yes.
wife, and I mean he hated them that bad.
Yes.
I mean that's
That's why he left his wife, because she liked the Eversoles, and
Right.
that was it.
isn't that crazy?
But didn't you say one didn't leave, and he ended up killing him too?
What's that?
One of the Eversoles wouldn't leave, and he found him, killed him too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. Actually, it was a oh man, I believe it was a Hurt that sided with the Eversoles, but he was kin to them some way, and he ended up just. I mean, he was the ambusher, man. Matter of fact, this is kind of a funny story. The judge who he threatened several times in court was dressed up like a woman. Now, can you imagine being that scared? An old hardened judge that was on the circuit. I mean, he was one of the roughest guys. Was so scared of Bad Tom that when he would go to the courthouse from his house, he would either put a shawl around him or a bonnet or something to make him look like a woman and a dress. I mean, that's pretty intimidating.
Apparently, he's afraid he didn't know when time was coming, so he was just going to be prepared.
Well, because we was talking about it, man. Doc was, and you remember they said he started out shooting him in the mountains, so they couldn't see him. Then he just got brazen
Right,
enough to where
right.
he just walked down and shoot him in the eye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he would just walk up like one of the murders. I mean, he just, the guy was in his yard and in front of his kids, and there was honor among all the people and the bad guys too back then. And one of the safe havens that everybody had was their home. Okay. They wouldn't mess with anybody in their home. In other words, they would wait to catch you out in town if they wanted a beef with you. Well, that was kind of like a no-no. Go to a man's home and kill him. And Tom crossed that line too. I mean, the guy was out in his yard with his little kids. I mean, imagine what they saw. And I mean, they all ID'd him. He got out of that murder too.
That's what I said, untouchable.
He Mr. French, who was from North Carolina, moved in, and he was a very wealthy man. That's who he worked for at that time. And he was a lawyer too. French was. He was able, after he was convicted now, and they had to move it over to Pineville. After Bad Tom was convicted of that murder, somehow in the Court of Appeals, Mr. French got that thrown out. So he really had a lot of chances.
He had a lot.
I mean,
And got by with a lot.
right. You know, and it may be what Max said, you know, by the time he got to the doctor, he could, you know, I mean, he got out of 3 or 4 murders there, and he thought he couldn't be touched, but obviously that's not true. And the hanging that took place in Breathitt County, the public hanging, it was the first and the only public hanging they ever had. And I don't know why. I think they say that there wasn't a dry in the crowd of 7,000 people once they hung Bad Tom. And I think they didn't ever want to witness anything like that again, maybe.
Probably so, but I'm just wondering, was there's some rejoicing going on as well once his neck was snapped?
Not for sure. I mean, I think they expected rejoicing, but I will say this, Gary. I mean, gee, man, and it took 2 minutes for the jury to come back with a guilty verdict.
And then he hung for 6 minutes.
I mean, 2 minutes. I mean, it's about as fast as we could get to the door.
Yes.
They come back and
Yes.
said guilty. I mean, that's.
I've sat on 2 different jury duties, and it was not that quick of a verdict when I see it.
Never. 2 minutes.
I'm sure after the housing market probably went up, you know, for the Eversoles, I'm sure if you bought back in right after,
Yeah.
just waiting to get back home.
Right. Well, and you know, here was the difference, at least, and I don't want to cause any more. Please don't show me my house if you're if you're a French or Eversole. But here's what I've read and what I've seen and researched. It seems like the Eversoles wanted to handle things legally through the court system, and the French wanted to burn the courthouse down and handle things the intimidation way with Bad Tom. I mean, it seemed that
Yes.
way, you know, and you know, as the old, what's the old saying? Don't take the law into your own hands. You take them to court. That's that was the Eversole's way, and obviously, God bless them, it didn't work out. You know, with
No,
Bad
it
Tom.
did not work for him real good at all.
But they did get their final justice. But according to what I've read, nobody rejoiced after everybody was kind of sorry for Bad Tom a little bit.
Like I said, that to me, that's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
You'd expect a big celebration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, gee, man, I think at least the families were doing some kind of 2-step out there.
Yes.
Well, it was such a scene. I mean, think about this. I'm sure they would never let someone do this today, but grant you, I mean, if that was my first cousin, I had to pull a lever to hang him, and he said, I need 45 minutes to talk, and I'd probably give it to him too. You know, I mean, that's all he could do for him.
But my thing is, the 45 minutes talk, was he really sincere? Or was he just trying to delay hanging?
No one will ever know.
And I was wondering if he was taking so long, hoping that, you know, his boys would come and shoot up the town.
That's
and,
a good
Well,
point.
actually,
Yeah.
they thought that was going to happen. They thought that the French faction was going to come and rescue him. I mean, that's what a lot of people thought. The local sheriff thought that. So he asked the governor for 50, well, they call them National Guard troops now, but 50
Militia.
Yeah, militia,
to come
yeah.
and stand guard. They really thought that was going to happen.
I'd say there was some thoughts about them trying to break him out too, but I guess once they seen, 50 guys there with guns, they were like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, they said that actual Mr. French was in Jackson. Now, grant you, he was from Hazard, so they saw him there, and that's one of the reasons too that they were real nervy about his, execution, because they actually saw the guy who he worked for there.
It would have made a hell of a movie if they'd have come there and shot that place up and tried to rescue him, all that kind of stuff, though. I guarantee it'd been a lot more talked about.
But adding to the story.
Yeah.
But guys, I mean, it's a heck of a story. Right?
It is a heck of a story.
I mean, to never be talked about,
Yes. I mean, you really have no facts. All you got is lure.
Right, legends.
Yes.
Right. And like we were talking about, I mean, people on the ever so side and the other don't want to. Let's don't.
Yeah. Taboo.
It's taboo.
It's taboo.
120 years ago.
And after this evening, trying to get this show going, it may be taboo with me as well.
yeah. I don't think I'll ever want to talk about that.
Because nothing has really went right this evening.
Yeah,
No.
just,
No, you remember it hadn't rained all day and was like, let's go up there and film the gravestone, and then it starts to rain.
Oh
And
yeah,
then-
beautiful
Yep.
day.
Then we leave and it quits raining.
stopped raining, yeah.
That's
So,
true.
a little weird.
That
That
is.
is because you and the producer said the big W word.
No, I said shovels. I
Well,
think
he said
I think
he
producer
said
said Ouija board.
No comment.
Right. We're not going to mention that again. Please.
Yeah, I don't want the microphones flying around the room. and,
Please
you know.
please don't mention that again. But now, Bad Tom, I mean, he really was. Oh, well, matter of fact, the sheriff, not only was he a first cousin, but when Bad Tom Smith's father was killed, Bad Tom lived with him. So he was like his brother almost,
Yes.
That was some tough stuff. Right? I know, Mac, you've been researching the French and Ever-So War a little bit. I mean, you said what, between 20 and 70 men?
20, yeah, over 20. It could be up to 74 died in Hazard over all this. And one says it was over woman, and then one says men were right. So there's a couple people saying that's what got it all started. It could have been a woman.
Well, I mean, did they?
Damn.
Well, you probably don't want to tell the name of the woman.
Well, that,
No, that's
that
okay.
correlation's
That's
starting
okay.
to go again.
There's too many people.
Yes, yeah.
There's too many people
Yeah.
with last names of different places.
But that correlation's starting to come again. Women and whiskey, it's starting to play a part again.
Women
so-
and whiskey.
Yep.
I mean, Bad Tom warned us. But anyway, the war. There was one part of that where Mr. McKnight was shot. Did you see any of that?
No, I was just trying to figure out why it actually started over.
They said that during that the big shootout, there was a huge shootout downtown Hazard, believe it or not, and I don't know where the Combs Cemetery is, but they said that's where Bad Tom ended up. There was a grave or something sunk in there, and Bad Tom took some good shots from there, and one of them hit Mr. McKnight, which he was found guilty of that murder and got out of too, by the way. I mean, jeez. He also killed a Campbell guy. I think I'm not sure of his first name, but during that time, during the war, and also one of the things Bad Tom was known for was they said he was a real handsome guy. He
By the pictures I saw, he was a
Yeah.
very clean, neat-looking guy.
he loved working for these rich folks because, especially if they owned a mercantile store, which that meant they got all the new clothes in. Of course, Bad Tom got the pick of
Yes.
his new clothes, and probably the finest cigars and whiskey money could buy.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm
What'd you find out there, Chief?
No, I'm still looking. It didn't tell any names.
Oh, okay. Well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
We're so afraid to mention names.
Yes.
Too. But anyway, How long we been going, Mr. Producer?
About 40 minutes now.
Okay.
So if you guys want to talk about what's coming up,
Yeah.
What you got
thanks-
planned?
But first, let's end this correctly.
okay.
Is it your
If I
birthday?
can find it, I think it's only appropriate to do this. Bear with me.
Also, Spotify, give us a call. We know Joe Rogan's out sick, so
Oh, Joe Rogan's out sick?
yeah,
We might hit number 1 this week.
Sweet.
so bring us up.
That'd be great if we could hit number 1 right off the bat.
I wouldn't mind
And
signing like
apparently-
$3 million to Spotify.
I may have
Yeah, that'd be
accidentally
pretty good.
deleted it.
That curse is kicking in.
Something's happened because I saved this specifically to end this.
See, producer,
and
you
I
stay
am
Ouija
unable
board
to
again.
find it.
I didn't bring it this time, I swear.
Mac, hand me that little paper, please.
I'll give you the one. I'm not giving the beer paper.
I did expect you to give me that one.
Are you gonna read something?
Yeah,
about
Mac's
Tom?
drooling right now. You can't see
I
it.
thought it's only appropriate we end
He's thirsty out here.
it with this. Like I said, once again, if I can find this one. We mentioned it, but I think it's yeah, here it is. When the governor would not grant his pardon, this was Tom's words.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess I will have to go, but I want all the time you can give me on the scaffold. That's when he took the 45 minutes and addressed the crowd and confessed his sins, as we would say. But he
Mac, it would take you longer than 45 minutes to confess your sins.
It would.
he seemed to be an intelligent man.
I drink a lot of beer.
And I found it. All right. Friends, one and all, I want to talk to you a little before I die. My last words on earth are you two. Take warnings of my fate. Bad whiskey, bad women have brought me where I am today. I hope you ladies will take no umbrage at this, for I have told you the God's truth. To you little children, who were first to be blessed by Jesus, I will give you warning. Don't drink whiskey and don't do as I have done. I want everybody in this vast crowd who does not wish to do the things I have done and put themselves as low as I have went to occupy their hands.
So they all raised their hands. Huh?
Yes.
Wow.
There you go, folks.
7,000 people raising their hands. Pretty.
Sounds like a Kid Rock concert.
I held a lighter at a Kiss concert. Well, Doc did too.
Yeah, I used to do the lighters too. Now it's went to cell phones.
Oh, do you think they got the little candles out and did that when the hanging was going on, since it's a big
Oh, I
celebration?
don't know. I don't know.
Maybe torches, but anyway.
Well, it was 1 o'clock in the day, so I don't think anybody would have seen it. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But anyway, folks, I know we're seeming like we're talking about haunted stuff, murders, killings. Well, we're trying to get a little Halloween theme going right now. That's the reason we're going to go to different subjects. We're going to light things up.
I can't wait.
Recording.
Well, G-Man, we finally made it to the side of the old hotel.
We're finally here about the edge of dark. That's probably not a good time to be here.
No, I don't like to be here after dark.
No.
So we need to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. But as you see, they've made a park here. The ex-mayor decided that'd be more fitting and proper for this place, and I kind of agree with him.
I do. Kids gotta enjoy the happiness here now,
Yeah.
not despair.
Not talk about most of the murders, as G-Man and I were talking, took place at the old hotel that was on this side, and it wrapped around like an L. And when we're talking about murders, we're talking about usually shootings or stabbings, right, Gary?
Yes, everything was shooting or stabbing in that time period. The hotel actually went all the way down this fence line here, and you can see the concrete ends over there, and that's where it ended at. So it kind of made an L actually.
It was pretty big.
It was a big hotel. It was 2 stories high. It had I don't know how many rooms, but it had a lot of rooms in it.
And the bar, so show them about where the bar was. But it was about in the center.
About right in this center court here was the bar during that time period.
You had like you could walk to the hotel. I mean, it was all the way around you. And it seemed like they had some pool tables in here.
There were pool tables everywhere.
Well, hey, can I ask y'all a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Where were most of the murders? In the bar, the hotel,
The hotel had
There
the
was
murders.
a couple in the bar though.
Yeah.
Okay.
The most violent and memorable ones were right there against that wall, actually.
Oh, that place. Okay.
Yeah. But I remember a shooting when I was in the second grade. We come down and actually they drug the guy out, and he'd been shot through the jugular vein. And I remember seeing this, and they drug him. He died right on the streets.
And they shot him in the bar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rumor has it he was out and with somebody else's lady or something. I don't want to get in on that because I'm not sure of the detail, but all I remember is the guy was shot right through the neck, and he bled out before the ambulance got here.
And there was another woman over there. You know the story. You know who I'm talking about, but we're not going to mention any names. But she was accused of sleeping with someone else. Her husband came in and just literally blew her head off with a shotgun.
I've been doing some research on it, and it says Vico was one of the most violent places back in its
violent.
heyday.
It was very violent. And matter of fact, we will never mention names or anything like that. We can tell what happened, you know. But we're gonna. I'm not going into this one happened that way or whatever. I just remember what I saw. I would say between this stretch and to the church, I know of at least probably 20 people.
Oh, easy.
Growing up that got murdered.
What I read was in the New York Times, so you know it had to be bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad. It was horrible.
But you know, I think after time is settled and people's moved off and the bad people is either left or dead.
Dead.
I think that what they're doing now is trying to restore it to a peaceful place, and what better peaceful place than a park, you know?
Where yes,
I
they
think
have
that
birthday parties for kids. Kids are all the time swinging over here.
Well-
We've been fortunate enough. I reached out to the ex-mayor that actually had a house on this property, built a house because it was his father's property, and he is going to come in studio and he's going to talk to us about that as well.
Well, can I ask? I don't know if you guys want to say it or not. Can we say who actually owned the hotel that was when it was built, or is that?
It was. I think it was recently built by John Cummins, wasn't it?
Yes.
And
Muggs.
everybody called him Muggs.
Muggs.
He had a street name of Muggs, and but he actually, I think this is well known. He was murdered also. So
And it's still unsolved to this day.
yeah,
It was actually on Unsolved Mysteries. You remember that? Vico
Yeah.
was actually made
yeah.
prime time again.
You know, so
I mean, and there's several unsolved mysteries that we don't know who done what yet, and they'll never be discovered.
but as we're finding out, you know, some things in the mountains you can poke a little bit and talk about, and other things you can't. And our job here is not to ruffle any feathers
No.
if we can keep from it. Just tell the history. And one of the reasons I think the history hasn't been told, Gary, is because people are scared to even
Yeah.
talk about it. But it has to be talked about or it'll be forgotten.
And you know, I'll say this, Mac. Doc and I were taught at a young age how to shoot a gun. I mean, just because of what went on in this little town right here. We had to stay home on Sunday nights.
We also was taught respect too.
Yes.
We would never go to these guys that were tough guys,
No.
and I mean we were sir, yes sir,
Yes.
you know, and the police officers were rough guys too.
Yes.
We were taught respect for the
Yes.
police officers.
Yes, we was. But we'll wrap this up because it's getting dark on us.
Yeah.
But we will be coming back talking about more about this history here with the ex-mayor and property owner.
Hopefully we will.
Yes.
Yeah.
See you, folks.